Saving lives, preventing disease, and reversing disease. You are listening to Dr. Richardson On Call, brought to you in part by the Atlanta Clinic of Preventive Medicine, William Richardson, MD.
This program is not being used to make diagnosis, administer treatment, prescribe medications, or order tests. The information contained is provided as an educational service. This program is not a replacement for the relationship you have with your healthcare provider. If you have concerns about your health, please contact your healthcare provider's office immediately.
Hello, ladies and gents. This is Andre 3000, one half of the group Outcast, and you're listening to Dr. Richardson On Call on WCLK 91.9 FM.
Hi, and thank you for listening to what was at the time Dr. Richardson's very popular and informative holistic, preventive, alternative health talk radio show, designed to save lives, prevent disease, and reverse disease. Furthermore, if you are interested and in need of a holistic alternative medical doctor, you can reach Dr. Richardson at 770-419-4471. That's 770-419-4471. And be sure to visit our website at acpm.net. That's acpm.net.
Hi, and good evening. I am Dr. William Richardson, and this is again our time to present WCLK's Community Health Forum to you, the community. I'm inspired and honored to be your host on this show. It's a preventive holistic medicine program on WCLK's Health Forum. Each month throughout the entire year of 1998, we have been on WCLK, and we have taken in-depth and stimulating looks at the major health issues facing our community today. We have discussed the truth by revealing up-to-date, compelling facts, figures, and statistics about many topics from mainstream to holistic medicine. Most importantly, we offer extensive recommendations on quality medical care, disease prevention and treatment, nutrition, diet, vitamins, minerals cleansing and detoxification, immune system enhancement, herbs, lifestyle, internal and external exercise, and nutritional, natural alternatives and complementary therapies. On this show, we request and encourage, and we really demand your participation because this health forum is your show. So we require and appreciate your input. Go on and ask your important questions to us and give your valuable commentaries on the major health and medical challenges facing our community today. We're going to be talking about a really interesting, very interesting subject today, and we're going to tell you about in a little while. Again, I'm your host, Dr. William Richardson, a board-certified medical doctor with over 16 years of experience in general, internal, family, and preventive and nutritional medicine. My role on this show is to facilitate our listeners in the how and why of making intelligent health choices in medical care, nutrition, diet, natural alternatives, vitamins, herbs, exercise, etc. Also, as always, I am joined today in the studio by my brother, John Richardson, who's the writer, researcher, and producer for this show. And I owe him many thanks. So thank you, John.
And thank you, Brother Dr. William Richardson. And welcome out there in Radio Land, as I, John Richardson, am also honored, inspired, and highly motivated to assist Dr. Richardson in expounding the benefits of holistic preventive medicine, healthy lifestyles, diet, nutrition, stress management, as well as complementary and alternative therapeutics. And we invite you to join us on next show, Wednesday, December 16th, that's next week, at 6 p.m., where we will be discussing diabetes, how to prevent it, how to reverse it, and what causes it. Did you know that diabetes is the 7th leading cause of death in the United States? Did you know that the incidence of diabetes is on the rise, with an estimated number of diabetics doubling every 15 years? Diabetic illness can lead to kidney failure, blindness, peripheral nerve damage, foot ulcers, gangrene, and other problems. 90% of diabetics are type 2 adult onset, non-insulin dependent situation. All right. we will examine why diabetes type 2, adult onset, as with osteosclerosis and other common degenerative diseases of Western culture, is largely a disorder of wrong living. That's right, wrong living, the cause behind that thing. All right, we will look at the causative factors that create diabetes, such as obesity, such as lack of exercise, excess sugar, fat, and refined grains, nutritional deficiencies, chemical deficiencies, lack of fiber, also chronic stress overload, and so on. We will offer a comprehensive outline of a plan to reverse diabetes. What medical tests are run to determine if you have diabetes? Amazingly enough, of the estimated 10 million people that have diabetes, fewer than half of these people know they have it and have not consulted a physician to be given a proper diagnosis. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
That's amazing. Do you know the classic symptoms of diabetes? We will stress that it is crucial that your blood sugar level be under control by any safe means necessary, whether through diet, nutrition, exercise, other lifestyle factors, or, yes, medication. So, we invite you to join us on our next show, December 16th at 6 p.m., where we will be discussing diabetes mellitus, another American epidemic. We'll see you then. Thanks.
Very good, Brother John. Now, I would like to turn to our topic for this show, and that is depression. Depression, with all too many of us especially experiencing the winter months and holiday season blues. And the truth is, everyone listening to the sound of my voice, including myself, has at least been mildly depressed in the past. The fact is that depression in various degrees affects millions and millions of Americans on a daily basis. Its cause and effects can range from being a minor annoyance, a moderate disturbance, to a full-blown debilitating disease which is life-threatening, of course, in depression's side by way of suicide. On this show, we wish to provide an overview of depression in its many forms and degrees, and then focus on prevention, avoidance, and how to overcome depression should you experience this particular disease. And, you know, there are different types of depression. There's the major depression, the secondary depression to an illness you may have. And then there's the manic depressives, which is a whole nother illness, which isn't as common as the general depression we're going to talk about tonight. So for general depression, to begin with, let's go on and review the symptoms of depression. How do you know if you're depressed? And the following list is a common list of symptoms of these aspects or symptoms you would experience if you're suffering from depression. First of all, number one symptom is fatigue and low energy. You have to make sure you're getting enough rest, and beyond that, fatigue and low energy, loss of interest, loss of sexual desire, being sad, having a melancholy attitude, having a futile attitude, like, what's the use? Loss of or excessive appetite, guilt, hopelessness, worthlessness, poor concentration or memory, insomnia or excessive sleep, social withdrawal, suicidal thoughts, or suicide itself. Now, what about the U.S. statistics on depression? Check this. 1 out of 20 Americans develop a case of depression serious enough to require professional treatment. 1 out of 20. The National Institutes of Mental Health has estimated that over 20 million Americans are suffering from serious depression at any given time. Unquestionably, untreated depression can lead to suicide, which is the 9th leading cause of death in this country and the 3rd leading cause of death in teenagers. Perhaps the most alarming aspect of depression is that doctors frequently fail to recognize and treat depression effectively. Moreover, while antidepressive drugs help some victims of depression, these drugs themselves come with some significant side effects which are often overlooked and minimized by physicians who prescribe them. Too many patients are prescribed Prozac as well as other antidepressants without being told what to do about the underlying problems that cause the depression in the first place. Although they are very helpful at times, the quickness with which conventional doctors prescribe hundreds of drugs, including Prozac, is staggering, to say the least. Dr. Peter Brigham, in the book Toxic Psychiatry, states minor tranquilizers, barbiturates, opiates, alcohol, and perhaps antidepressant medications effects are short-lived with little or no evidence for sustained relief, and hazards are considerable, including addiction, withdrawal, rebound anxiety, especially from the tranquilizers, mental dysfunction, and even being lethal. Few psychiatrists would keep a picture of martinis in hand to ease the anxiety of their patients, yet they're willing to reach in their pockets for a sample pill of minor tranquilizers. Of course, those are quite different than antidepressants. In fact, doctors do not like tranquilizers at all because they are highly addicting drugs. So, we live in a society which is quick to medicate itself without looking into the whys and wherefores of this disease. Certainly, modern medicine saves countless lives through the use of technology and pharmaceuticals, and no one's going to argue that point. It's unfortunately true, however, that most alternative methods of disease treatment are thrown out altogether as being nothing more than quackery, which epitomizes throwing the baby out with the bath water. And what we're saying here, we're not telling people if they're taking antidepressants to stop at all. For some people, that could be a very serious type of thing, and it could cause even suicide. We're not stating that at all. When I have to prescribe antidepressants, I insist that the patient tries to do alternative treatments to themselves, with themselves, to eventually get off of the antidepressants. It's unfortunate in our vigorous attempt to treat the devastating disease of depression with the latest drugs, we overlook the impact of therapies which utilize diet, vitamins, amino acids, herbal preparations, proper lighting, proper getting up and going to bed on time, that sort of thing, exercise, and other lifestyle factors. Now let's look and let's turn to the root causes of depression so that we can prevent, avoid, and or reverse depression, whether the case be mild or severe. Let's start by saying that although legitimate life circumstances or even genetic influences may trigger depression, we must not overlook or minimize other contributing factors that often are at work. Such lifestyle factors include, number one, psychosocial and familial aspects. When we think of the family structure of pristine classical civilizations, it doesn't even compare to the family structures that we see here in the modern world. The psychosocial aspects. In Africa and Europe, men can walk down the street holding hands without a thought. There's more closeness in other cultures. That is a big impact, I believe, on how many people are depressed in this culture. Also, nutritional deficiencies and poor dietary habits, and we're going to go into detail on many of these. Air and food allergies, low blood sugar or hypoglycemia, low thyroid function, very important, chemical hypersensitivity, heavy metal toxicity, and heavy metal toxicity can also cause more anger, especially with cadmium. How about lack of sunlight or lack of full spectrum lighting? That's what we get in what we call SADS, the seasonal affective depression syndrome, where people get depressed just because it's dark outside. And how about insufficient exercise? Very important.
Yeah, and Dr. Richardson, as we go into these in detail, that first one you hit, the psychosocial familial aspects.
Sure.
That is so lacking in this society. And, there's so many broken families. There's not a mother and father dealing with the kids. And then the relationships, a lot of them aren't straight. And that type of thing. And whatever situation you're in, you have to go out of your way to build your family, even if it's not your blood family.
That's
but
right.
Build close relationships with older people, younger people, same age people, a little older, a little younger, the whole thing. And really, we almost have to do things, like what we're going to talk about, reevaluation counseling, or things where we get together and really listen and get close and don't get isolated, because that, like you were saying before we started the show, a lot of that is the reason people are depressed. They're not close to anyone.
Right, they're isolated.
They're isolated.
And that really caused a problem. There were 3 elevators that came at the same time in the building we work in.
Right.
And one elevator had a person and 2 elevators were empty.
Right.
And I could have chosen any elevator, so I chose the elevator with the
person
person.
in it.
And I told him, if I'm going to, on a rocket ship to outer space, I'd rather travel with another human being.
That's a good example, but here in America, most of us might get on that empty elevator thinking that we could get to the next floor faster without a person on there. Go ahead and grab it first.
Okay, and there's connectiveness to
Exactly.
people, and there's electricity between people,
There's energy
and play and
generated, yeah.
energy. You can look
really.
at that when
We feed off of that.
like Earth, Wind and Fire plays, and how they used to feed off of each other. When the other one was taking a lead, the other ones would just. Well, solo, I should say, they were looking at that person and giving them energy. So
Right.
that's important to know.
Right.
How about poor eating and dietary habits and nutritional deficiencies? If you feel depressed for no apparent reason, what you eat may play a profound causal role, or maybe the cause of depression. You may think you can get away with eating poorly, but be assured to the contrary, if you neglect your dietary health, you will suffer the consequences, which may result in depression, among other problems. Fast food, junk food, highly processed and chemicalized food, such as sweets, coffee, caffeinated beverages, fried foods, pizza, hamburgers, candy, chocolates, Coke, Pepsi, other pops, chips, white bread, and sugar. These all lack vitamins, minerals, fiber, enzymes, and actually deplete the body of those particular constituents. Remember, the average American annual intake of low nutrient unhealthy food consists of, this is what the average American eats, 756 donuts a year, 135 pounds of refined sugar a year, 365 servings of soda pop a year, 90 pounds of fat per year, 60 pounds of cakes and cookies per year, 22 pounds of candies per year, 4 pounds of potato chips per year.
Yes, Dr. Richardson, and to combat the dietary depression, we establish a whole foods diet, which we
right.
talk about all the time.
That's right.
While reducing or eliminating sugar, caffeine, alcohol, junk food, fast food, unhealthy fats, more fruits, more fresh vegetables, salads, whole grains, beans, sprouts, the whole thing. Studies reveal that Americans are 70% RDA level nutrient deficient, which is real deficient, because the RDA isn't anything claimed to fame.
That's right.
So that's why we recommend, if that's a situation, that people take multivitamins, B complexes, B12s, the minerals, omega minerals and macro, and these type of things. Sometimes people have to get the B12 injections, and eating a lot of these high level grains like brown rice and millet will supply vitamins, and my favorite is spirulina and chlorella. I mean, I'm like addicted to that.
Right, those are single cell microalgae.
And you can fast on those, and they're complete protein in there, and the B vitamins and the chlorophyll and all of that. So also consider getting a juicer. Fantastic if you juice, and read books on that, Dr. Richardson.
And don't forget, if you're iron deficient, that'll cause you to be depressed,
man.
at least physically.
Oh man, yeah.
What about depression and amino acids? Amino acids are nothing more than natural substances which comprise the building blocks of proteins.
Yeah.
Amino acids are closely linked with the mind and the emotions in that they are required to manufacture the chemical messengers of the brain called neurotransmitters.
Yes.
You may be surprised to learn that only 60% of people who appear to be in good health have normal levels of amino acids in their blood. You may be amino acid deficient, such as precursors to neurotransmitters, building blocks of neurotransmitters like L-tyrosine, L-tryptophan, L-phenylalanine are considered the most effective amino acids in treating depression. It is recommended that a qualified physician supervise any amino acid therapy you may wish to try. Certain specifics must be followed in order to assure the effectiveness of this type of treatment. Amino acids have to be taken at certain times on an empty stomach and never in combination with any protein foods such as milk or meat. There's amino acid blood panel that can check this out.
Dr. Richardson, on that, a lot of people might say, well, I eat meat, this and that. I'm not amino acid deficient, this, that, and the other thing. But in this unnatural society, I mean, like the drugs people take can make people amino acid deficient. I had that experience. I was taking a sulfa drug at a time, and what was it, taurine, which is the amino acid that synthesized sulfur, was out of my body. And I was like, how'd that happen? Oh, the sulfur drug did it. So there's a lot of sources in this unnatural society that it could be. And then if you're a vegetarian, you could run into some. There's a lot of reasons someone could be amino acid deficient.
That's right. To
Not me.
consider.
Okay, I'm going to move into another one, Dr. Richardson, exercise and depression. This is one that me and you are pretty strong on, just exercise. Perhaps the most natural and certainly the safest antidepressant is physical exercise. Prescription drugs for elevating the mood are prescribed to take once or twice a day. We recommend taking a brisk walk for a half an hour once or twice a day instead of taking the drug, possibly. Or instead of beginning to take the drug, if you're really in serious trouble, then you take the drug. Or in concert.
If you're
in
taking
concert.
a walk.
Yeah, take a walk, do Kundalini yoga. I mean, anything can be substituted for that walk. Physical exercise enhances the most powerful mood elevators in the body, the endorphin system in the brain. There's clear association between exercise and endorphin elevation. And anybody heard the runner's high? Feels good. When the endorphins go up, mood improves. Walking, running, swimming, weightlifting, yoga, tai chi, a lot of these things.
That's right. And what about low blood sugar or hypoglycemia in depression? Basically, we emphasize an anti-hypoglycemic diet, which is going to be whole grains, limited white meat such as fish, vegetables, low carbohydrates, veggies. And don't forget to try stevia, Stevia, and that's a natural sweetener that doesn't have any caloric value and won't mess with you. What about light and depression? Be sure to get adequate exposure to sunlight.
That's important.
Or full spectrum lighting, even in the winter, and especially in the morning. If it's real dark and you feel a way when you get up, get a light on and start exercising.
And Dr. Richardson, we have food allergies in depression. One man's meat is another man's poison. You might consider getting a food allergy panel, which is a simple blood test that says you're allergic to this, you're not allergic to that, and there's 90 foods and a lot of different foods. And then some people have certain foods, various symptoms. Yeah, the various symptoms, including depression, just from certain foods, and that's what we're saying. If certain foods just cause depression, cause a person, might be sugar, might be something like that.
That may be how they manifest their food allergy.
Yeah, that's true.
And then bowel disorders in depression. Depression, as well as any degenerative disease, are brought about by toxins generated in the large intestine that can be associated with constipation. So if you're not moving your bowels, you could be having a lot of rotting and putrefaction of undigested foods and parasites and yeast infections. And for that, you would need cleansing with herbs, enemas, colonics, acidophilus, like the Dowie cleanse, Paracleanse, etc.
And being that 80% of Americans are partially or fully constipated, or whatever you want to call it, we might have a lot of people that are depressed or angry or whatever. I know when I rarely get constipated because I eat so much fruit and juice, and it might be twice a year I might even feel like constipated, but when it even happens, I'm like, oh, I don't like the way it feels.
Right,
you know?
I understand.
Yeah. What's next here? The hormones in depression. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that the hormonal imbalance causes depression. Twice as many women as men get depressed. Women who have just had a baby, women on the pill, postmenopausal women are prime candidates for depression. And the question is depression, is PMS largely a nutritional deficiency in terms of, the hormone imbalance? If you don't have the correct nutrition for the hormones or hormonal imbalance in concert, you can easily get depressed.
Right, and you got to remember that as far as PMS and things, and endometriosis and fibroids, that flesh eaters, eating high amounts of animal products have 50% more estrogen floating around their bodies than people eating a healthier diet. And then we think about all types of other considerations that cause depression. You can think of drugs like diet pills, high blood pressure medications, sleeping medications and tranquilizers, nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol. And a lot of people are really medicating themselves with caffeine and alcohol, not recognizing them as the drugs they are.
Yep.
And what about low thyroid function? We have to make sure of that. Check your temperature, do exercise.
Run a test for that. Was it a blood test?
Yes, a blood test.
Blood test.
And you can also check your thermometer temperature test in the mornings.
Yep.
And then there's yeast infections that can cause that are associated with candida overgrowth. environmental pollution from carbon monoxide, insecticides. And, we want to just mention very quickly some helpful aids to combat depression: meditation, deep breathing, relaxation, good sleep, aromatherapy, reevaluation counseling, music therapy, reading, spiritual and inspirational writings, massage, body work, reflexology, and acupuncture.
When I was doing this, Dr. Richardson, like I said, all of us get depressed at times. It's not. First, I said, I got to write this depression thing. I got a little depressed. And then, really, in all seriousness, I thought of all these techniques, and I was like, and I began to even do more of them. As all these techniques. I mean, they what they do, they make you feel good.
Yeah,
that's what they do. You follow some of these things, you feel better, and that's
right.
you raise your vibratory rate if you want to get crazy about it, though. Yeah. So anyway, we're approaching a break. We'll go over a few more things. What else do we have here, Dr. Richardson?
Well, I want to go on and mention how antidepressive drugs work.
That's worth it.
And there's two basic classes of antidepressive drugs that are mostly used these days, and one is the serotonin, the selective serotonin uptake inhibitors, which certainly carry significantly less side effects than the old tricyclic antidepressants like amitriptyline and all that. But basically, the Prozac and Zoloft are the selective serotonin uptake inhibitors, and that's how they work. They work in the brain, and they prevent serotonin from being retaken up. One thing that you could use is 5-hydroxytryptophan, or tryptophan itself, which you can only get from a doctor's prescription.
That's an amino acid.
Right, and that would increase the supplies available for making serotonin, which act similarly to Prozac and Zoloft. Also, we'll get into this later, but St. John's wort has an effect that's similar to Prozac and Zoloft.
We'll cover that when we come back from the break.
So you don't want to take the Zoloft and Prozac at the same time as St. John's wort. Then another class of drugs called tricyclic antidepressants like amitriptyline work by preventing serotonin and norepinephrine from returning to nerve cells that release them. So basically, these drugs work by an MOA, monooxidase inhibitor action. And anyway, this is an enzyme that normally changes these amines that are in excess and excreted in the urine. So, I mean, those are just technical things. And we're not saying don't take the drugs, but there are side effects that you can get from taking them. So you want to keep that in mind. We need to go to a break now. This is Dr. Richardson and John Richardson. I was going on and on about depression. And this is WCLK 91.9 FM, and we'll be right back.
Hi, and thank you for listening to what was at the time Dr. Richardson's very popular and informative holistic, preventive, alternative health talk radio show, designed to save lives, prevent disease, and reverse disease. Furthermore, if you are interested and in need of a holistic alternative medical doctor, you can reach Dr. Richardson at 770-419-4471. That's 770-419-4471. And be sure to visit our website at acpm.net. That's acpm.net.
Hello, we're right back, and this is Dr. Richardson and John Richardson on WCLK's Community Health Forum 91.9 FM. And we're back.
Yeah, and what we want to do at this point is say we're talking about depression, which is a serious problem in America, affecting millions and millions of Americans, affecting me and you, affecting our family members, maybe affecting us in more or less ways. A lot of people on Prozac, Zoloft, antidepressants, this type of thing, especially around the holidays. There's a lot of suicide, a lot of people sad. People have died around this time also. So we're talking about depression tonight, kind of a seasonal thing, but also it's a thing that occurs every day of the week, every day of the year. So we think it's important, so we slipped it in before the year end. Depression, that's what we're talking about tonight. What we want to do also is open up the phone lines tonight to you. We'd like you guys to get involved. We really want your important input on this subject matter tonight of depression. Please won't you call us immediately, state your comment or question. Get out your pen and pencil so you can write your questions or comments down for Dr. Richardson. You can call us on your home phone, your business phone, your cellular phone, your car phone, your pay phone, or someone else's phone. Come and talk to us about depression. Do you ever get depressed? What do you do about it? Did we hit any of these things? The number here is 404-880-9255. Dr. Richardson, go ahead about that St. John's wort, and then we'll begin to take calls.
Yes.
It's an herb.
St. John's wort has been used for generations as a natural mood elevator. And basically, it's been used since the Middle Ages, and it has a traditional reputation for lightening the mood and lifting the spirits. And research has borne this out to be true. It's been heavily researched in Europe.
Yeah.
It's one of the number one drugs there behind ginkgo biloba.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it's used, as I said, in a preparation that helps block the serotonin uptake in the brain. And studies have actually compared it to traditional medicinal antidepressants and have found that without the side effects, this herb actually works just as well or better. And it can be used for mild to moderate depression and the dosages of 300 to 500 milligrams 3 times a day. And you can actually take more for more severe depression. And remember, don't take it with Prozac.
Mm-hmm. And there's millions of people taking St. John's wort. It's in the drugstores, it's in the health food stores, it's in the grocery, it's everywhere.
That's right.
So the thing is, you want to know what you're doing about these herbs and that. Now, what I want to mention before we get to the phones, by the way, the number is 404-880-9255. We do have a couple lines open, so you can give us a call. Just going to mention some other herbal concerns that people can take in terms of their depression. Herbs that increase energy and combat mental fatigue, like ginseng, ginkgo, and gotukola, cayenne. Herbs that regulate the hormonal imbalance, like Dawn Quine, black cohosh for women, and this and that. Herbs that calm and stabilize the nerves, like chamomile, passion flower, skullcap. We use these in the clinic and that for a lot of folks. Mm-hmm. So herbs that elevate the mood, like the St. John's wort, also oats, and there's many herbs that stimulate the appetite. Some people aren't eating. Herbs that fight the yeast infections. A lot of yeast in the system can put out toxins and make you depressed. Herbs that help control hypoglycemia, thyroid function, the colon, as we mentioned, if you're constipated or even if your liver's congested.
It really will make you depressed.
Thank you. And it can make you angry, just affect your mood.
It really will.
So apparently Atlanta's interested in this subject of depression. We have one line open for you. That number here is 880-9255, but we're going to run to our first caller for the evening, Dr. Richardson.
All right, that's good.
Caller, are you there?
Yes, good evening, Dr. Richardson and John.
Hey, I recognize your voice.
Yes.
Yes.
I have to apologize. I was 10 minutes late for class tonight. So, so I'm not sure. I know you've touched on this, but I don't know how deeply, and I apologize ahead of time. But, when we talk about depression, and when you had mentioned the holidays, and especially around the holiday time in this society, and even throughout the year, but especially at this time of year, I think that what contributes to it is when people, and especially we as a people, buy into what Madison Avenue tells us that we need to be content.
Great point.
Whether it's spending on a certain amount of money on presents here, presents there, or even throughout the year, what kind of home you should have, how many cars you should have. I think that sometimes, and I've even heard this from different people, where it puts a pressure on them to where it contributes to the problem.
Very good point, and personally, I just ignore most holidays.
I do too.
Freudian slip. Well, we appreciate it. Anything else, caller?
No, that's it. I'm going to continue to take notes.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, bye.
All right.
Bye.
880-9255. We're talking about depression. A lot of folks are experiencing that right now. Give us a call. We're going to take another call. Caller, are you there?
Hello, yes, I am.
Thank you for calling. This is WCLK 91.9 FM.
Yes. I have a question. Well, I have a statement and I have a question. I have suffered with depression on and off for about the past 20 years.
Uh-huh.
When I was 25, I had a total hysterectomy. And for that reason, I've had to take estrogen replacement. I'm not satisfied with the results. I've recently started taking the St. John's wort, which has helped me tremendously.
Wow, good.
However, I'm still concerned about the lack of estrogen in my system. And I don't know
Right.
what to take besides the Premarin that I'm taking right now.
Right. Premarin is a short name for pregnant mare urine.
Yes, I know. I read that. Made
and
me sick.
and you're taking horse hormones. So, what we do, we just do a saliva test. You would have to stop that hormone, do a saliva test, find out exactly what you need, and then take what you need in the form of plant-derived human hormones. And that's what I would do. And actually, a total abdominal hysterectomy doesn't mean they took out your ovaries.
Yeah,
and
they did
tubes.
take the ovaries.
Right, but that's called a bilateral salpingo or oophorectomy or a BSO. So what you had is a TAH and a BSO. That's what you actually had. But I know that's not going to correct that misnomer in the whole population.
Yeah, and you were talking about the natural hormone.
Yeah, there's
replacement.
natural hormones.
In fact, our newsletter, if you send for our newsletter, it has a nice article on that and explains that whole thing and the hormone panel and the whole thing.
We'll be glad to help you if you want a consultation about that.
All right?
How would I go about subscribing to the newsletter?
Yeah, basically it's free. And so all you need to do is call the health hotline. Thank you.
Peace.
Good night. Number here, 880-9255.
An example of how St. John's wort helped. I mean, if you...
Yeah, she
you
said it
listen,
helped.
she said it helped.
Greatly.
Yeah,
And she was just addressing another problem, which we think we can help that too.
That's right.
In the natural man. All right, we're going to take another call. Caller, are you there?
Yes.
You're on WCLK with Dr. Richardson. Thanks for calling.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm currently taking lithium.
Yeah.
And they had suggested it that sometimes in my life after I lost my lover to go on also antidepressant. Of course, I'm against that because I am like a holistic person. But I struggled for 7 years before I tried the lithium. It does balance me out, but it does lack in several ways. It really doesn't help my concentration like I thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like to say, Dr. Richardson, that the problem also with herbs is that they're not time-released. And therefore you don't know how much St. John's wort you're getting at one time. And I also understand that it's a mild antidepressant.
Right. It's for mild and moderate. You're right. And basically, I wanted to know your diagnosis. Was it manic depression?
Well, mood, cyclothymic.
Oh, cyclothymic, yeah.
But it was a reoccurring diagnosis several times over. And I tried a diet, exercise. My life was just so, my moods were so unpredictable.
Right. With the herbs, you have to take them several times a day. I'm sure someone is making some time release styles of the herbs, and that's a good point. But you do have to take them more often than the drugs.
Well, the problem with holistic medicine is you have to be very disciplined.
That's the
know.
Well, that's life, actually, in general.
Life.
I mean, we have to be disciplined in general, and
That's
what can
true.
really increase your discipline are techniques like meditation, chanting, deep breathing, really making sure you go to bed on time. And one thing I do is a wave theory with folks. And that means that before you go to bed, you do mind-body exercise. And when you wake up, you do some more vigorous exercise to increase let's say, the wave of your life, so to speak. I would have to explain it to you in person, but basically you want to exercise more vigorously when you wake up. And then before you go to bed, really do some cooling out type of maneuvers and do some deep breathing, meditation, all that regularly. And that increases your efficiency. Because if you live in a traditional jungle instead of this concrete paper jungle we live in, you have to have your stuff together, or, you know what happens. I mean, you'll be out on the street, whatever, if you don't have your paperwork together.
Well,
So
I understand that I'm more thrown off by a change in schedule than, most people. And
Sure.
it's just like a shock to the system. I don't
I
know how
believe
to
you.
explain it, but I guess that's one of the things of manic depression.
I
You
believe that.
Shot off.
Yeah.
And it's cost me a lot, relationships, jobs, and so on and so forth. But the other question I'd like to ask you is about
Quickly,
the
please.
yeast. What were you saying about the yeast? That's a recurrent thing in my life.
Yeah, well, there's a candida overgrowth that happens in the intestines and other areas, possibly the female tract, the vaginal area. Then, of course, that's not, people say candidiasis, but it's a big misnomer, actually. But yeast overgrowth is a big effect because of the hormones in the food and the pesticides that are hormone-like that are pro-yeast growers. So that has to be addressed. That can be addressed by looking at the stool samples for yeast growth. And also there's really good blood tests that I've just found for diagnosing that particular problem. So I think you have to diagnose it and you have to treat it.
Yeah, and you have to know how to treat it. There's some great books like the Body Ecology Diet and some other books that really deal with how to get rid of the yeast. And again, it comes to what you're saying, the discipline. And then behind the discipline is, do you love yourself enough? And that's a problem in America in terms of what Dr. Richardson was talking about when we first came on the show, in terms of the psycho-emotional, familial aspects where we basically feel isolated, so we don't feel like we love ourselves enough to be disciplined enough to take care of ourselves.
Anybody who's listening to this show loves themselves enough, right? You guys are great.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Good question. You have anything?
Yeah, I just want to say there's physical discipline, nutritional discipline, psychosocial discipline, spiritual discipline. All of those are important, as well as balance.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have to have discipline is the key to health.
And you have to make a choice for those things. And again, it comes back down to self-love. You got to find that somewhere. You got to find it, and you may go through some pain to get there. But that's why a lot of support groups, a lot of groups for developmental things, a lot of groups where people can express themselves, come together, hold hands, touch, be close, not be isolated, and all of that can also help. And that's why you were saying that was the biggest issue in this whole thing. It's even more important than nutrition and all, but all that's important too.
Here's something said in code. Can you get it? The great hunter will come, but it's your attitude when the great hunter comes.
All right. Number here is 880-90. I missed that. 880-92. That was deep, man. 880-9255. Let's run to another call. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You're on WCLK with Dr. Richardson. Thanks for calling.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm just calling pretty much to comment about the program.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to be in agreement with what you're saying. And the last comment, after I held on all this time, I was like, that's my point. I think a lot of people are dealing with the symptoms and not dealing with the root of the problem, which is emotional, like you said, with spiritual, and really feeling like they have a grasp on what's occurring in their life.
Right.
And I think that as an outpouring of that discipline and that self-love will come to take care of your body, take care of what you're putting into it, take care of what you're putting into your mind, the people you talk to, the people you allow to speak to you. When you know a person's negative, even though people say, oh, I just listen to them, don't even bother. Let them dip that in somebody else's garbage can. Because what happens is that all that stuff turns into thoughts, and thoughts drive our entire body, and it determines the chemical composition of our body.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I just think that people really don't realize how important the mind is as far as your health. Yeah, exercise is wonderful. I exercise. I eat right. But how about minding your mind?
Right.
You know, I think that's incredible and something that's missing. We let so many people put information inside of us, but how much self-talking are we doing? And I think on the aspect of the depression, I think a lot of times we allow other people's opinions and views, like one of the callers said, Madison Avenue, but it may not even go to an untouchable force. Even the people around you, you can't accept people's opinions as fact. You have to weigh it and love yourself enough to know when it's true and when it's not.
Very good.
Very well said.
But besides that, too, I just want to say, Dr. Richard, you are wonderful. I don't have any physical ailments. I'm blessed. But I'd love just to come and visit with you and make certain that I stay that way.
Give thanks, and thank you very much for the comments tonight.
Okay,
All
gentlemen.
right.
Have a good evening.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. I mean that's very important. I know Dr. Joel Pulcrum in our office, she always says that, you know, basically people are experiencing illness. You give them these nutritional supplements, you give them the herbs, you give them the medicine, this and that, basically to stabilize their tissues until they decide themselves to get well. And in other words, self-love, think themselves. You know, so if you're exercising and you're eating appropriately and you're taking the herbs and you're doing all meditation, going to bed, that means you love yourself.
That's right.
You've decided to love yourself. And so the attitude matches the actions, and it really is the attitude that brings on the health and shows manifestations of you loving yourself. So they're all intertwined. The number here is 880-9255, 880-9255. Give us a call. We're talking about depression tonight. Have you ever been depressed? If so, you might want to give us a call.
That's right.
We're going to run to another call. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
You're on WCLK. Thanks for calling. You're on the air with Dr. Richardson.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I suffer from a little depression. Well, it's not really. It's like anxiety.
Okay.
But I discovered, through a relative, Kava Kava.
Right.
Helps me tremendously.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And
that's an herb that we carry in our office.
You do?
Yes, we do. Yes.
And there's one thing I'd like you to institute in a future program, or you might have, and I missed it, is impotence connected with hypertensive medication. I would be interested in that.
Yeah, that's an upcoming program, the impotence part, and then connected to that would be a segment of the hypertensive medication connection.
And possibly other medications.
It's good.
And of course, anxiety is different than depression. Kava Kava is used mostly exclusively for anxiety.
Okay.
And you know, it's from from the Southeast Islands, and I met some of those people when I went to Hawaii, and they're really cool. And they had Kava Kava parties. Did you know about that?
Oh God!
Did you hear about that, Kala? That's how it all started. That's part of their social religious thing. It's Kava Kava parties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they make a big tea out of it and all types of stuff.
All right, keep on keeping on.
All right, caller, thanks for listening.
All right.
The number here, folks, is 880-9255, 880-9255 with a 404 prefix. We do have a couple lines open. You can get in before the break. We're going to run to a couple more calls. We are talking about depression. A lot of people get depressed around the holidays. People have died in the winter and this type of thing. And so we're trying not to be depressed. In fact, we're not going to be depressed because we're going to self-love and get into our spirit and manifest all these things.
One of my biggest secrets is stretching every night. And then when I wake up, drinking water, turning on a full spectrum light, and doing a Navy SEAL exercise video.
This guy loves this Navy SEAL thing. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's it's
to each his own.
Is that it? It's each his own. Okay, we're going to take another call. Caller, are you there?
Yes.
You're on WCLK with Dr. Richardson. Thanks for calling tonight.
Hello. First of all, I enjoy you all show.
Thank you.
Very helpful.
Good.
I'm dealing with, I guess, slight depression. I've actually seen a counselor.
Good.
She suggested that we use Kava Kava and St. John's Wort. I did hear you mention that the Kava Kava reduces anxiety.
Yeah.
How does the St. John's Wort affect you, and also what type of things should I pay more attention to in relation to my diet when I'm taking these things?
Okay. Well, the way St. John's Wort works is in the brain, and it helps boost the serotonin level up in the brain. And it has minimum side effects, especially compared to other types of other medications. And it does documentedly definitely work. You need to take it about 3 times a day.
Okay.
And as far as eating, you want to eat natural, whole foods. You want to eat foods that come closest to the ground, like whole grains, whole fruits, not so much fruit juices, no sugars, no coffee, no alcohol. But really good food. You don't want to skip meals. You want to make sure you eat a good breakfast, which to me is water, exercise, whole fruit, and then some type of whole grain later in the morning as you see fit. Okay, you need to be eating brown rice, millet, all those types of grains. And then don't forget vitamins, a B complex vitamin. They have stress tablets you can take from the health food stores and whatnot. There's a lot of things you can do. And read. And also call our health hotline.
Yeah.
Okay, and I had another question also in relation to other herbs. I also take psyllium and Cascara sagrada.
Right.
Should I not take those when I'm using those other two?
You can take them at the same time. The precaution would be psyllium you could use every day forever. Cascara sagrada should be only used when you need it, occasionally.
Okay.
For cleansing, but you don't want to use that every day.
And if you get into your diet, eat a lot of salads, a lot of fresh juices and sprouts and fruits and all of that, just Cascara sagrada and a lot of psyllium you won't need as much, especially the Cascara sagrada.
Right.
Okay.
You'll be regular.
All right. And I just had one other question, and someone can probably help me off the air. It's about where you all are located and what insurance you take.
Okay. Yeah, what you want to do is call the health hotline number and call our office and get our newsletter also. You get all that information.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good
Have
evening.
A good night.
Thank you.
Peace.
We're going to squeeze in another call.
Okay.
Caller, are you there?
Hello?
You're on WCLK with Dr. Richardson. Could you please make your comment or question quickly?
Yes. Does juicing have any effect on you mentally? I mean, does it help you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it can very much so, depending on what you're juicing. I think the green juice is especially good, and I personally am going to be getting into that deeper because it's part of my protocol for my personal quest in health. And I think that you can overdo juicing if you're not eating regular foods unless you're fasting. And when you fast, you may want to dilute the juice with water. So I would say you have to be careful with it. You can just juice. And if you're not ready for it, it can throw your blood sugar up and down and up and down. So you have to be careful. It can definitely throw diabetics' sugar off and cause low blood sugar if you take too much fruit juice. Sometimes it's good to dilute fruit juice if necessary.
And what you want to do, caller, is get a good book on juicing. There's plenty at the health food store. We have a book list. We also have a handout that we typically give people that are getting on a juicing program that we give to them that explains all the facets of juice on one page. So there's a lot of information. Yeah, and you can see the Juice Man on TV. He sure will talk to you about it. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks for calling.
All right, we're going to do a break right now. We'll be back. This is Dr. Richardson and John Richardson talking about depression and other health issues on WCLK's Community Health Forum 91.9 FM.
Hi, and thank you for listening to what was at the time Dr. Richardson's very popular and informative holistic, preventive, alternative health talk radio show, designed to save lives, prevent disease, and reverse disease. Furthermore, if you are interested and in need of a holistic alternative medical doctor, you can reach Dr. Richardson at 770-419-4471. That's 770-419-4471. And be sure to visit our website at acpm.net. That's acpm.net.
Hello, we're back from the break. This is Dr. Richardson and John Richardson.
Yes, and tonight we're talking about depression, a problem that we all experience here in America. Some people experience it very seriously, and then it can lead to suicide and other dysfunctions. And that's a serious dysfunction. We're going to round out the show and take these final calls talking about depression this evening. We really appreciate your participation tonight. As always, we're going to take another call. Okay. Caller, are you there?
Yes.
You're on WCLK with Dr. Richardson. Thank you for calling tonight.
Greetings. I'm calling about pregnancy. I'm pregnant, and I wanted to know, is it preventable depression after you have your baby, after childbirth? Is it preventable, and what do you need to do? Like, what herbs do you need to take?
That's a great point.
That's a great question. Dr. Richardson, an expert on this, isn't he?
Well, you know, it's a nutritional thing, and I want to say we also do have a holistic OBGYN in our practice that deals with nutrition and pregnancy and would be excellent for this as well, Dr. Jewel Pulcrum. But and I would say that eating correctly now is going to help, which it sounds like you're conscious and that you will. So eating correctly now, doing your exercise, and I would say breastfeeding. I don't know of any studies that have shown this, but I would think breastfeeding would help combat depression. Postpartum depression. You're missing out if you don't breastfeed. You planning to breastfeed?
I'm definitely breastfeeding.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're definitely not going to get depressed postpartum if that's your attitude and that's the case. Also, you should be making smoothies. You know,
I make a smoothie every morning.
Okay, so it sounds like you're on it. I think stretching, exercise.
Pregnancy? The book.
What kind of smoothie, though, do you recommend?
Oh, I recommend smoothies with rice milk, pure soy powder, or pure rice powder protein, spirulina, or this other stuff, Nutriuva, and then you can. Hello, you still there?
Yes.
And then you can put like empty capsules of your prenatal vitamins in there and all types of other herbs that, of course, won't hurt the baby. Calcium, magnesium liquid in there, chopped up fruit. You know what I'm saying? All that sort of stuff. And then there's a great book called Pregnancy, Children, and the Vegan Diet, too, by Dr. Clapper. That's good as far as nutrition. And also there's certain teas you can make to enhance the breast milk, like nettles, marshmallow root. You can take chlorophyll and dilute it with water. All that will enhance your milk. And I think a lot of depression may come from minerals, too. And it's the hormone letdown that you get as well. So I think breastfeeding will help. Okay, caller?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
That was a great question.
Yeah.
That was a great answer. All right.
Thank you. I didn't want to say something.
All right. We're going to run to another call. Caller, are you there?
Hello?
You're on WCLK with Dr. Richardson. Thanks for calling.
Yes, Yes, I've been suffering from depression for quite a while,
Yes.
And this is my third try with medication. I'm on imipramine.
Yes.
And I've been, and I've seen results with it, but it's causing me to tremor.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know if I could take the Kava Kava and the St. John's Wort while I'm on this drug, and do you think my tremor will subside?
It's a possibility. They are, as far as I know, not contraindicated to take all three of those together.
Okay. Would it be to my benefit or not necessarily?
I would say it's a potential benefit. I wouldn't say not necessarily on that, because I think those are great herbs that could feed your body and help you along. I think I would start slow with it, though. That would be the cautionary thing, and make sure you're doing everything else you need to do.
Okay.
Like the meditation, the exercise is so important.
Oh, that does help.
Yeah.
Yes, please do it regularly.
Okay.
All right, caller, we're going to have to run.
Thanks.
Thanks for calling.
Okay.
All right, we're going to take another call. Caller, are you there?
Hello?
You're on WCLK with Dr. Richardson. Could you please keep your comment brief?
Yes, Dr. Richardson, I want to know if you would suggest any herbs that couples who suffer from depression collectively could take?
Well, it would be the same herbs as far as pure herbs go. Is there some type of relationship problem?
Yes, sexual.
Meaning?
I guess a decrease in appetite from one party.
From one party. Okay. I would get the newsletter, and I would suggest that perhaps you want to get some personal counseling on that. But I would, it depends on if it's a male or female. We really don't have time to get into it now.
Okay.
But you've got our health hotline number, right?
No, I don't. I had to rush in the house, and I want to get that.
Okay, well, make sure you get it. We're going to be giving it.
We'll give it in about a minute because we're about to go off the
air.
air.
Get that, and then, you may want to come in for a consultation for that.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. All right. We're going to take this last call and then get on out of here. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, I sure am.
You're on WCLK. We're about to go off the air.
Okay, I just want to share something real quick. I've had real good luck with St. John's Wort and with the Kava. But one thing I've also found is that wheat gluten, I was
food allergy
was increasing my depression. I don't know if you guys have talked about this or not, but particularly for anybody that has other types of food allergies, they may want to look into that, because what I did, I read about it in a few different places, but then I tried just no wheat at all for about 2 weeks.
Exactly.
It felt a lot better.
And maybe dairy products would be important too.
Possibly,
Yeah. Plus, we have a food allergy panel that we do in the office that usually reflects those types of observations. So good point, and thank you for bringing it up. And
okay.
Thank you for
you guys appreciate the subject.
Okay. Thank you.
Night.
All right.
Good night.
Take care.
Okay, we're going to round this up now. We've been talking about depression. Go on and give some important announcements, Brother John.
Okay, we're going to wrap it on up and get it on out of here. Basically, if you want more information on Dr. Richardson's medical practice, if you would like a free newsletter on male and female reproductive issues, what you can do is call a health hotline. We'll send you some information, and we'll give you upcoming radio show information, this type of thing. And don't forget, next week, we'll be on next week, Dr. Richardson.
Okay,
next week, we'll be talking about diabetes.
Very important.
Diabetes,
subject.
yes. And we'll be talking about that, going into details, how to reverse it, how to prevent it, and how to, if you're stricken with it, what to do about it, all these issues. So don't forget to join us in next week.
Yeah, that's going to be big.
For Dr. Richardson, this is John Richardson signing off on WCLK 91.9 FM. We'll see you next week.
Peace.